What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching today. My name is Savannah and welcome back to another speed build for Planet Zoo. I feel like it's been a while since we sat down and just kind of chatted while watching a speed build. I feel like I've been doing a lot of building, but for whatever reason, I don't feel like I've quite finished anything or actually put out a speed build video in a while. Maybe it's just because I've been so busy and it just is, that's how it feels. But anyway, happy to be sitting down and chatting to you guys today. We actually built this habitat on stream, and it's for the African penguins, if you couldn't tell already by, I'm sure, the title and the thumbnail. Inspiration for this habitat really came from the San Diego Zoo. Now, I will say that the habitat, the final thing, does not look anything like the San Diego Zoo, really. I mean, there's some aspects of it, but it was really just inspiration, not a remake, not a true remake where this, you're not going to look at this and go like, yeah, that's from the San Diego Zoo. Just inspiration. So the San Diego Zoo does have this big glass area where you can see the penguins kind of swimming, and then you actually go up a little bit to a land area where you can see the penguins kind of hanging out on land. One thing that I did kind of copy over, and you'll see as we get to later in the build, is that the San Diego Zoo has their penguins on gravel on their land part of the habitat, and we don't really have a gravel texture in Planet Zoo, like the terrain paint. We don't have a gravel one, so I ended up using pathing. So in this habitat, there's actual pathing on the banks of the shoreline that make it look like that there is gravel. And we're able to actually blend it in really well. The staff can traverse it, the animals can traverse it, and it actually is a usable, functional habitat. I think I've seen a couple creators do this before, but this is the first time that I've ever attempted it in a habitat, and I'm pretty pleased with how it comes out. The only downside, of course, is that it is pathing, so you can't necessarily like go back over itself or get two paths really, really close together. It does not like the water, so you have to be careful with that. But for this habitat, it really worked because we actually end up making it slightly smaller than it is right now. Shocker, I always end up building things a little bit too big and then having to go back and resize them to be a little bit smaller. But we end up kind of squishing this habitat and making it like a long, narrow, skinnier habitat where the animals are going to be close to the guests no matter where you are, but the guests have multiple viewing areas of the penguins. So it actually works because we just kind of do one strip of gravel pathing and are able to kind of surround it by other rocks and make it look really blended in. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we did do this on stream, and if you haven't caught one of the streams before or haven't caught one yet, I do highly recommend them. Come hang out with us, come chat. It's a good time. We have so much fun on Sundays. Sundays at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we normally stream for about 2 hours. However, last weekend and this coming weekend, we'll actually be streaming twice because the new cottage living for The Sims 4 is coming out, and I'm obsessed, so we're going to stream that again this afternoon or the afternoon of Sunday as well. So if you want to hang out, if you have any questions on Planet Zoo, the live streams are the time where I am able to help you out, answer questions, because I do get a lot of questions over like comments and things like that, and sometimes it's a little hard for me to write back in text and explain if you guys are having a problem. So if you're trying to build something in Planet Zoo and you can't quite get it right, head over to my stream on Sundays. I will be glad to help you out, and if you don't need help, just kind of come hang out with us and chit chat. It's a good time. I think this next weekend we're going to finish our giraffe habitat because that was the other kind of thing that we started. Obviously, the giraffe is not part of the new Africa pack, which is what we were kind of focusing on before. And now the only animal that I have left to build for in the Africa pack is the white rhino. I kind of took a break from it though because I'm a little upset. I started a white rhino habitat in Sakura Zoo, and Sakura Zoo is not opening for me right now. So those of you that aren't new to the channel, you'll know because I have mentioned it before. Unfortunately, it crashes about 10 seconds into loading for me, and can't actually get into it. So I have sent it over to the developers at Frontier, and they're looking into it for me, but I'm not quite sure if there's going to be anything they can do to save that save file for me. So we might have lost Sakura Zoo altogether, which leaves me honestly with no long-term project. I still have River Rock Zoo, but actually right now I have it, but somebody else has it as well, and they're doing a little work for me, so I can't say too much yet because I don't want to announce too much, but I don't have River Rock Zoo right now. We finished up Hakea. I kind of left it as is, as a work in progress. It's up on the workshop for you guys to see, for you guys to continue building off of if you want to, but I don't have that. And then unfortunately we can't get into Sakura, which was one of my favorite projects that we were working on right now, and so that leaves me without a zoo. I have an idea for something to start as a new series, but I haven't quite spent too much time working on it as of yet, so I'm not quite sure when we might kind of really dive into that. But anyway, I'm actually having a lot of fun building one-off habitats. One thing that I have kind of found is when I'm in the middle of a project, like a complete project that I want to be a cohesive zoo and looks like it's meant to be one zoo, is you kind of nail down a certain style and go with that, because I'm kind of into making quote unquote realistic zoos. So I don't want it to be super theme parky where you have like, here's Africa and here's Asia and here's India, you know, all these different areas that are super themed out. So I kind of pick like one aesthetic and go with it through the whole zoo, which means like River Rock was super modern. Sakura was like our lower budget, more realistic zoo. Hakea was more of a desert zoo. And so it means that I'm building different habitats, yes, but I'm sticking with one kind of general theme. And when I do these one-off habitats, these one-off builds, I'm able to just build whatever I feel like it and go with it. It doesn't have to match the last one that I did. Now, these ones that we're building here and the ones that are in this save file that we are working on are kind of all Africa themed, because obviously the Africa pack is the newest DLC that launched, so that's what we've been working on. But I can take inspiration from a whole bunch of different places and kind of just do what I want, and I'm really enjoying that. You know, I really like just kind of being able to do whatever we want, add whatever animal we want, so we'll continue with that for a little bit until I kind of solidify our next project. Now, this fence that you see me working on here, it does get changed. It does not end up looking like this, but it is part of a new fence pack that I put out on the workshop yesterday. I think I put it out on the workshop yesterday, but it's called Africa Fence Pack 2. Super creative name. It's because I already did an Africa Fence Pack 1, so I made this one Africa Fence Pack 2. Really easy to remember, really easy to find, but essentially I just kind of felt like building some fences and threw them together in a pack because I know little things like that are super usable for other builders, and if you just want something that you can kind of download, click, drop, and place in your zoo, super easy. I do highly recommend, because then, like I said, you don't have to spend time creating the fences. They're already built for you. It's like placing an item that was already in game, just putting it down wherever you'd like. So if you search simply Savannah on the workshop, or I do think I have a link down to my workshop in the description below, you can go ahead and check out everything that I have on there, but it's called Africa Fence Pack 2. And it includes that fence, it includes a shorter version, and then it includes a couple other ones that I think there's like a stone one, and then a couple that are kind of just wood using more of the mesh pieces and things like that. You do have to have the Africa pack in order to download it, because I do use the Africa, like the wooden plank, like, what are they called? Like plywood pieces, I guess, in the pack. So you do have to have the Africa pack in order to use them, but I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you did use them. And of course, as always, if you guys do build something and you want to show it off, I love to see what you guys are working on, especially if you've used some of my blueprints or used inspiration from my builds. So you can either join our Discord and share your pictures there, or you can tweet it at me. You can send it to me on Instagram. Love to take a look at what you guys are doing. But we've moved on to the water now. and placed tons and tons of rocks, as is per usual in any of my builds, because I like the natural looking habitats more so, and I love adding trees and foliage and lots of rocks and all that kind of stuff. But you can see now the pathing is laid in the back. You can see how that gravel really looks like it's just gravel on the banks of this habitat, and I think the look comes out really, really cool. Utilizing some of my fences in the back there just to kind of give a backdrop to this habitat. I end up putting a couple buildings in the back that really honestly don't have much to them. They really are just facade buildings to kind of make you think that there are staff buildings behind there, more so to give a backdrop to the habitat, because I tend to think that some of the habitats, when you don't give them a backdrop, they just kind of, I don't know, there's nothing to like anchor them down, make them look finished. So I throw just very simple rectangular African looking buildings back there, and with some thatched roof, because right now the thatched roof is like my favorite thing ever. Even though I'm not using the new one, I keep using the thatched roof from the South American pack, because I tend to like that texture a little bit more than the base game Africa pack one. Although for this one, I think we do use the Africa one because it's a little bit more orangey in color, and not quite so like yellow/green. But anyways, I digress. I've gotten off on a huge tangent. Let's go ahead and talk about our little African penguin friends. So as always, I have the San Diego Zoo's website pulled up, and we're just going to go through some information, talk about our little penguin friends. I think they are the most adorable animal, and I love watching them run around, especially the little babies when they like put their little flappers back and like they look like they're trying so hard to run so fast, but they're running so slow. I think it's so funny. But anyway, they're one of my favorite animals to watch in the game, aside from the meerkats. I absolutely still love watching the meerkats run around. But let's go ahead and talk about them. The African penguin is one of the smallest penguin species, and while the African penguin may not be found in freezing temperatures, they're still covered in an array of black, white, and gray, dense, waterproof feathers that keep them dry and warm in the cold waters off the African coast. They also have a number of dot-like markings flecked across their white chests that actually help individualize each penguin from each other, because each penguin's feather pattern is individual and specific to itself, much like a human fingerprint. The African penguins have distinct, sharply pointed beaks and black feet. One of their most distinctive features is a patch of bare skin above each eye, which helps them cope with the high temperatures in South Africa. The hotter the penguin gets, the more blood flows to these areas, where it's then cooled by the surrounding air and keeps the bird cooler. Because of the increased blood flow, these bare patches actually get pinker as the penguin warms up. And I find that fascinating. This is not actually something that I knew. I think when we were talking, what animal were we talking about? And I think I talked about rabbits, how rabbits have really big ears and their ears are really vascular. So, you know, to cool off, they'll send blood up to their ears, and it gets cooled off by the air, because the air can take away that heat that's dissipated, and then the cooler blood goes back into their body and helps cool them down. I had no idea that the bare spots by the penguin's eyes did the same thing. It makes complete sense, because that would be a part that's not covered by those insulating feathers, but I find that fascinating, and the fact that you can tell if they are hot or not by how pink their little bare patches are, I think is really cool. The African penguins communicate with one another through vocalizations and body language. Each individual has its own unique vocalization that distinguishes it from others. They use 3 different types of calls: a bray, which is used to attract a mate, the yell, used to defend their territory, and the haw, used by mates to locate each other when one is on land and one is at sea. And I find that incredibly cute too. Like, they have a way of finding each other. If they get lost, they probably, their haw is probably individual to each penguin as well, or unique to each penguin, which I think is pretty cool. African penguins can be found in large colonies along the southwestern rocky coast of Africa and many of the surrounding islands. The largest colony is located on Dyer Island. The birds build nests in sand or deposits of their excrement called guano or under bushes or rocks. Gross. But, you know, hey, if it works, it works. Shelter provides them protection from the harsh sun during the hot African days. Being fast swimmers allows them to catch a variety of prey from the sea, including sardines and anchovies, as well as squid and crustaceans. These hardy little penguins can hold their breath over 2 minutes and dive over 400 feet deep. That's incredible. On a side note, I went, and this is completely on a tangent again, but it just popped into my mind. I went to the pool over the weekend for the first time all summer because we have like a community pool in my neighborhood, and I was swimming around and was shocked at how little I can hold my breath for. Like, I was swimming underwater and I felt like as soon as I went underwater, I was gonna drown. Like, I couldn't hold my breath for very long. And I feel like I remember as a kid, I used to swim around under the water all the time. And I don't know, I guess I just don't swim that often anymore. Complete side note, but that's what popped into my head when they said they can hold their breath for over 2 minutes. I would die. So 2 minutes is actually a really long time if you try to hold your breath. Try it. I couldn't do it. A penguin may eat up to 1 pound of food or 14% of its body weight per day. At the zoo, the penguins enjoy sardines and night smelt. They swallow their fish whole. That is something that I do know as well. If you go to the zoo or like SeaWorld around here, you can see they'll feed them and they just kind of toss these little fish at them and they just kind of like swallow the fish whole, and it's kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, that's a little bit about our penguins. Let me see if there's anything else on here. Oh, of course, we want to talk about conservation. So African penguin populations have plummeted, unfortunately. Their numbers have declined by 60% in the last 28 years. Habitat loss, overfishing, and coastal development are taking a toll on the African penguin population. The African penguins at the zoo are just the beginning of a large flock that we hope to have over the next couple years. It's important for people to learn about this endearing penguin because if you care about something, you feel the need to protect it and help it. And that's the point of zoos, right? So it looks like at the San Diego Zoo, they have a flock and they're working on conservation efforts to help the population in the wild. So that's a little bit about our little penguin guys. I think they are fascinating and one of the cuter animals in the game. I know I call everything cute, but I really do think they're one of the cuter animals in the game. And I love watching them run around. These fever trees also, to like really switch gears real fast, are my new favorite thing as well. I love the color of the bark and the way that the leaves are all spread out and the little thorns on them. I think they make really good backdrop trees or like centerpiece trees to like draw attention and just have like a really high contrast to, especially like we're placing a lot of gray rocks all over the place, and so to really break up the look of that very monotone color of all the rocks, adding the fever trees in there I think really helps the look. So I really like those fever trees. They were added with the new pack as well, and I think they're just different from anything else we have in game, and from what I've seen, they're kind of either hit or miss. So let me know, what do you think about them? I've seen people say like they absolutely hate them, and then people say that they absolutely love them. I am definitely team fever tree, definitely love them. But anyway, we are moving on, just kind of doing a little bit of decorating around the back where the guests would be. I really don't do too much detailing for where the guests are going to be. Obviously we have this like upper area that's a viewing for the habitat, and then they can go down the stairs to the lower viewing. I don't actually, or do I? I might. I don't remember if I actually let guests in or not. Where we're building on the map is like really far away from the spawn point, so I have to add like a whole new spawn point and like wait for guests to walk over here. So I don't actually remember in the end cinematics if I have guests walking around, but they can. I did lay all the path as you saw in the beginning of the video, so they can definitely walk around. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be a workshop item because of the water, because of the the pathing. I don't like to upload things to the workshop that aren't easy for people to just kind of drag, drop, and place, because I end up getting a lot of questions. People get frustrated, and then I just feel bad. I feel bad that people, want to use workshop items, and when you can't get them to work, it is rather frustrating, and I definitely sympathize and understand the frustration, which is why I kind of just avoid it altogether. So I will try to work out some way to make a droppable penguin habitat that I can put on the workshop, because that was my goal, is for all the animals in the African pack, was to make workshop items or blueprint habitats for these animals so that you can just kind of like drop them in your zoo. But unfortunately, this one's not going to be it. The one that I'm going to have to make won't have underwater viewing or anything like that, because the water gets incredibly finicky when you place down a habitat blueprint, because the terrain raises or it doesn't raise, or it's not high enough and you can't place the water at the right level, and it's just altogether frustrating. I do, however, bring out these. These are a blueprint workshop item. So these are sunshades that I did a while ago, and I think I did these for the chin strap penguin habitat that I built in River Rock Zoo, the implied habitat. I think that's what these are. But bringing them out for a second appearance now, because I feel like they just really fit. I feel like penguin habitats that's just what you see in aquatic animal habitats or semi-aquatic animal habitats, is these really large like sunshades over the top. I really hope eventually we do see something like that. I think that would be really cool for Frontier to add, as well as I was talking about this on stream, is I really want like the wooden poles, much like you see in the background of the fence of this habitat, but I want the tops of them to be cut off at 45-degree angles, or maybe like a little less than that, and not a 90-degree angle. Like, I don't want them flat on top. You know what I mean? Like, when you go to zoos, they have a lot of that, where they've kind of like angled the top of all of the poles and stuff of their fences to come to kind of like it's not a point, it's just an angle. You guys know what I mean. Hopefully you know what I mean. If not, Google like any zoo pictures, and I'm sure you'll see like natural log fences that have that kind of angle at the top. I think that is a really big staple of zoos and would be a piece that would be really beneficial. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the cinematics now. If you did enjoy this video, do leave a like down below and consider subscribing if you haven't already, all of which really helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!